Marco Island. This is the Good Morning Marco podcast, Marco Island's first, best, and only podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Ryan Sullivan.
And I'm Jordan Kraley.
And today we have a very, very special episode with a very special guest.
My name is Marv Needles. I've been on Marco since 1969 and just celebrated last week 56 years as a resident.
Wonderful,
Nice.
Wonderful. I am so excited, Marv, you're the only person still living on Marco that used to work for the Deltona Corporation,
As
correct?
far as I know, yes.
Yes, okay. So I'm really excited for this because if you don't know what Deltona is, you're going to know by the end of this podcast. Well, actually, probably within the next 5 minutes or so. But they're the reason that Marco is here. So I'm very excited to talk to Marv today. And before we get into all that, we have to say a very special thank you to a very special sponsor. This episode of Good Morning Marco is brought to you by Tyler Buchan of the Golf Group. Located right here on Marco Island, they're your go-to experts for luxury living on Marco Island and beyond. Whether you're looking for a waterfront home with golf access, a condo with stunning beach views, or a private retreat down on Hideaway Beach, Tyler and his team will guide you to your home. Visit thegolfgroup.com to start your search today. Or call 239-420-1099. Once again, that number is 239-420-1099. Go to thegolfgroup.com to find out more. Thank you so much to Tyler and his team for sponsoring this episode of Good Morning Marv. Marv, thank you so much for coming onto the podcast today.
Good.
Yeah.
Look forward to it.
So now, first thing that we like to ask people is for a little bit of an elevator pitch. So if you had the length of an elevator ride to tell the people watching at home or in their car, wherever they're at, who you are, a little bit about what you're about.
Well, I can give you the history of it.
Yeah.
Excuse me. But I worked when I was first came to Marco Island. I was looking for a place to locate, just happened to trip on Marco Island,
Mm-hmm.
and they hired me as a gopher. And I asked what's my kind of job? And they said, when we tell you to go for this and go for that,
Yeah.
that's what you do. So you're a gopher. And they paid me. I started $90 a week.
Mm-hmm.
I had no children at the time, just my wife and myself. And 2 weeks later, they hired my wife for $95 a week as a receptionist.
Well, look at that.
So my job was not very important.
So how did you initially find Marco Island?
My wife and I had left Dayton, Ohio. We had met years ago in Cocoa Beach,
Mm-hmm.
and we were headed to South Florida. Just wanted to settle down here to get out of the snow and ice up in Ohio. And we were in Fort Myers Beach, and we heard an ad on the radio for a name of someone who happened to be a name of someone by a person who went to school with my mother years ago, way back. And so we investigated and found that person. Her name was Betty Wiggs. She had the first clothing store on Marco. It was in the Highlands area. And she ended up introducing me to the assistant sales director for Deltona, and talked to him, and he said, why don't I get you with the sales director? And next thing I know, I've got a job.
Well, there you go. So I know gopher is kind of an all-encompassing job. So did you work directly with the Mackle brothers at any time? Or?
They would fly in occasionally, and they would need a ride to go to the hotel because they would fly in on the airstrip, which was on which is now known as Landmark Street. And so I would go pick them up, and we had two station wagons, two Ford station wagons. One was blue and one was white. And I don't know how I remember that, but it just happens to me. And so I would pick them up, and it was interesting. The first time I met them, they introduced themselves, and I introduced myself. And after that, they knew me on a first-name basis.
Look at that.
Tremendous memory, and they cared about their employees, and
That's
they were
good.
very, very, very into their organization and the people that worked with them.
Mm-hmm. So let's see. What was Marco Island like back when you first moved here?
Well, most of the groceries that we got were from 7-Eleven, which is where...
For some of us, that hasn't changed all that much.
well, Crutch's restaurant is where 7-Eleven
Yeah,
was.
yeah.
And so to get to Marco, or to get to Naples, you had to go down San Marco Road all the way to 41 and back up. So occasionally we go, there was a Publix up there on East Naples. And once in a while, I think once a month, we would go there every couple of weeks.
Yeah. What year did the Jolly Bridge open? Was it?
So I believe it's 70
okay.
or 71. I can't remember.
So you had to go over the Stan Gober Bridge, or wait, was that still the?
That wasn't even.
It was.
there.
Yeah, it was long
an
before
old
it was
swing
called
bridge.
the swing
time,
bridge. Yeah, we did an episode all about the Jolly Bridge, so I should know these things. But did you ever take the ferry?
No,
to and
there was
from
no
Marco?
ferry by the time I got here.
Okay, got it. So Deltona, for those who aren't really familiar with what Deltona is, the Deltona Corporation, do you want to tell people at home a little bit about what the history of the Deltona Corporation on Marco?
Well, the Deltona Corporation was initiated by the Mackel brothers.
Mm-hmm.
They had worked for General Development. Actually, they had been the principals of General Development, which developed Cape Coral.
Right.
Not Cape Coral, I'm sorry, Charlotte.
Okay.
And so there's a lot of unknowns there, but they backed out.
Mm-hmm.
They had a reputation they wanted to uphold, and from what I understand, the stockholders of that General Development, things didn't go the way they wanted, so they ended up getting out and creating the Deltona Corporation. And their first development was the city of Deltona, which is between Orlando and Daytona Beach.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the beginning of the
Yeah.
Deltona Corporation. And so they went into various areas. They had two projects in the Tampa area, one Panama City, another one St. Augustine, in Ocala, and obviously Marco Island.
Yeah. So land development and what else? I know the Mackel brothers initially purchased about $7 million worth of property on the island, which was most of the island at the time.
Well, they
right?
didn't purchase originally because it was it started out as a joint venture because the Collier family invited the Mackels to come over. Mackels had a wonderful reputation as a developer of creating communities.
Right.
A lot of developers they started developing land and they weren't creating communities. They would just sell land lots here and there. And so they had a good reputation. They also had a sales organization that had to do with franchises that they had mostly in the east of the Mississippi. And they had about 100 franchises where people could buy what they called their Three Seasons properties. And it was called Three Seasons because they didn't recognize winter as a season down here. In Florida, you don't have winter.
Well, we've just got hurricane and tourist down here now.
I know. Obviously, my kids went to school in Tallahassee, and they swear there is. The sweater you have on would be much needed up in Tallahassee. Anyway, that's kind of how it started. And the Collier family contacted the Mackels. They came over. They created a joint venture, which was called the Marco Island Development Corporation. And it was the principals were the Mackel brothers, were acting as Deltona, and the Collier family. And I think it was within about 2 or 3 years, because when I first started in 1969, my paycheck came from Marco Island Development Corporation, which was the joint venture. A year later, about a year or two later, I can't remember exactly, Deltona bought out the Collier family, and they were on their own after that.
So how long did you work for Deltona then?
I worked for them as a gopher for a year, and after that at the end of that year, I got my real estate license. And back in those days, you had to wait a year before you could get a real estate license. You had to have a residency. So I got my real estate license. Then I worked for them for about a year and a half, 2 years, as a sales rep, what we called job site sales. And we would work with the other agencies that they they contracted with to send people down here, and then we would tour the people around. There wasn't much to tour back then, because most of it wasn't developed.
Yeah, most of it was just
And
still
so
pine trees.
But we would take people around and explain what was going on and how the whole system worked. And they were selling a lot of properties that were to be developed, and they would sell a contract for purchase. And those people could opt to sell that contract if they wanted. It was nothing like today's contracts, which are 13, 14 pages and a lot of addendums. Back then it was a one-page contract.
Yeah.
And it was for basically vacant land. And so that was kind of the way it worked in real estate. And after, I think it was about a year and a half or 2 years, I went into the general market because most of what they were selling was, or had to sell, they had sold. And it was about a time when the Corps of Engineers were saying that, we need to start looking at how these developments are going, even though everything was approved.
Yeah.
The Corps of Engineers had some public hearings, which we can address later if you'd like, but I went to work as an agent for a lady called Johnny Gant, and her husband had a motel up in Old Marco, and so I worked for her for 2 years. And during that time, to become a broker, you had to work for another broker for 2 years, apprenticeship, and be registered, which you don't have to do now. And then 2 years later, I ended up getting my broker's license, and then I started my company, which was called Flagship Real Estate, and I operated for 43 years under the Flagship name.
Wow. So, here, Jordan, do you have anything that you want to?
Well, you go ahead and what's on your mind? Because last time you forgot.
Okay. Well, I was going to say, what's one thing that from when you first, let's say during the late 60s and 70s on Marco, what's something about that time that you miss from this place?
I can't say that I really miss anything. Interesting. A lot of people say, I wish it had been the way it was back when I moved here. Yeah. It's like when we first moved here, Port Royal is an example. Those folks fought every development coming in because it's like, I've got mine not in my backyard.
Right. Yeah.
And so there's been a lot of that on Marco, not in my backyard.
Yeah. There's been a lot of I've lived here my whole life and I've seen it. So
So I knew there was to be a lot of development. There was intended to be more hotels than what there are. That the entire strip on the beach from the Marriott South was all zoned for hotels.
Yeah.
And as Deltona got into financial issues because of the Corps of Engineers denying permits, they ended up selling a lot, and developers came in and started building condos. Yeah. But they reduced the amount of people that you could have by about a third. So if an acre was allowed to be typically 60 units per acre, it was down because its condo was only allowed 40 units per acre. So that changed and dropped the potential population considerably, especially on the beach area.
Yeah. So I guess conversely then, what has been something that you, either a very welcome change, something that you've been very excited about that you saw change on Marco, or something that you would have never expected that was a pleasant surprise? I
we didn't know that the values would go where they went. Interesting, when my wife and I built our house back in 1984. We moved into it. It's where we still live. It's been changed a lot. Yeah. I think every 10 years we have some changes going on. We've got one going on right now in our house. There you go. Fortunately, I'm kind of handy with carpentry, so I'm doing a lot of it. But the changes that occurred, we anticipated, and my kids couldn't wait to get out of. They went off to both went to Florida State, and they said, "Dad, we'll start seeing you in the on the holidays, and we're not going to move back here." And then after they graduated, they one by one they went to Orlando and thought that was going to be a great place. And one by one, they came back to Marco and went to work for me and said, it's a great place to raise family.
Yeah.
So here we are. And I know that a lot of younger people feel that there's not that much for them to do. But, my kids thrived on it. They really liked it here, and they turned out pretty good.
Yeah.
I feel like Marco does have that specific magnet where if you're here visiting or if you did live here and you decided to try somewhere else, you always come back.
Yeah, a lot of people come back.
Yeah. It's got it's got so much to offer. And a little disappointed there was the original Marco Beach Hotel and Villas, which is now the Marriott.
Right.
They used to have some great entertainment venues in there. They had a place up just off the lobby, which is called the Caxamus Lounge, and they would get name entertainment in there. They had entertainment constantly.
Any examples? Examples of who they got?
Oh boy, that'd be a tough one to remember.
Yeah.
I'm in my 80s. I don't remember a lot.
They were red and white, the vehicles. So
Yeah.
I didn't know.
Yeah, some of them ended up out in Las Vegas as name entertainers out there.
Oh wow, incredible.
Reminds me of the Sunset Melodies.
Oh yeah. Yeah. No. When we did our episode with Sunset Melodies, the people who did are they still doing it, or are they the concert series with cover bands, tribute bands in the park?
Yeah.
At Veterans.
My wife and I we saw the Neil Diamond one.
Yes.
Which
Okay.
was very good.
Yeah. One of the chief complaints that we were seeing on Nextdoor before was that people weren't utilizing the entertainment space of the band shell because the island spent a fair deal of money on that, and it's like, well, look, we're doing it now. So
I think you're going to see more of that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I was on a committee early on that was when they were looking to buy that property, what they were going to do with it. And originally they were talking about putting a parking garage there as part of it, just because parking's an issue. Yeah. And also it would be, in my opinion, an advantage to the whole downtown area, if you want to call that. But there was a lot of objections to it. And typically, when people are in favor of something, they don't say much. When they're against it, they speak very loud.
Oh, yeah.
Just go to the city council meeting.
Yeah. So speaking of council and committees, you've served on a lot of different things since you've moved to Marco in the past 56 years. What are some of the things that you've done?
Well, I was, ironically, I was on a committee that fought cityhood for about 4 times.
Were you?
And then finally we ended up where we were looking more from the county, and the county wasn't providing it, and we did some studies, and I was on a committee that did studies as to the cost of having cityhood. Yeah. And it was determined that we would actually might not have reduced taxes, but it wasn't going to be an increase in taxes. Right. But we could identify Marco Island as we wanted to identify it, not like Collier County did. So I was on that. When cityhood first came into being, I was on the planning board for the first 15 years. And I liked doing that because I was involved in helping create what Marco was going to be. And then I've been on some various other committees, advisory boards, things like that. And as you know, since you're a member of that particular committee, I'm on a committee with you, so we can't talk about that. Government in the sunshine.
I plead the fifth. No, but so how much up since city, which 1998 was when Marco became a city,
I believe
correct?
so,
yeah. August 1998. I know it was August because I remember my dad was talking about how everybody complained about that because it was over the summertime, so that people weren't voting on it, which is the same thing people do now about saying everything is voted on in the summertime. Well, it's got to be voted on sometime. Just anyway, so I don't know, percentage-wise, how much time since the 90s have you been serving on some form of committee?
Oh, that's a tough one to answer.
Yeah.
I honestly can't give you a percentage.
Mhm.
My business has been from operating a real estate company for 43 years.
Mhm.
I had a home building company for 10 years.
Yeah.
I had a vacation rental company for, God, I think 30 years.
Mhm.
So all under flagship
Yeah.
name. And so when my wife and I bought a house up in the mountains of North Georgia,
Mhm.
and on the way back I said, well, we're going to get out of the building business. So I went from a semi-retired, went from about a 65, 70-hour week to a 40-hour week.
Yeah.
So I thought I was semi-retired at that point.
Yeah.
But I've been involved and
Mm.
been involved in advisories to the city and to related to the building business as
Mhm.
well.
So, Marv, with all of your experience, what advice would you give to developers or city planners nowadays
Related to Marco?
related to Marco?
Well, there's really not much development to do on Marco. There's redevelopment.
Mhm.
There's some commercial properties that could be converted into mixed-use units. My wife and I own a strip center on Collier Boulevard that could be torn down. It could be a mixed-use. There's that availability, but I don't see that you're going to see a whole lot of changes.
Yeah.
All the condominium development or zoning for condominiums, that's all built out. Single-family homes, there's not a whole lot of that left.
Mhm.
So as a developer, I don't see anything to be done. I did a development for a German people, but there was nothing here for them, so we ended up doing something in Lely Resort.
Mm. So maybe on a very similar note, what is something that you wish you would have known when you first moved to Marco that you know now? If there is anything.
I kind of like the experience of surprise.
Yeah.
It's I don't want everything to go my way.
Yeah.
Of course, my kids and my wife, we all kind of look to surprise each other once in a while, and
Mhm.
so would I like to have known something ahead of time? Not really.
Mhm.
I would have liked to know when some of the recessions hit. I'd have been better
Yeah.
prepared.
Yeah. be a bit richer for it too
Yeah.
in the end. Yeah. Yeah. No, that's it's about failing forward sometimes where you can't always anticipate what's going to go wrong. So it's resilience and sticking with it once it does get difficult. So yeah, that's I can fully relate to that as well.
I think that the developer, the Mackel brothers, never anticipated Marco to be what it's become.
Oh yeah.
The lots. We didn't have the mega houses we had
Right.
before, primarily because when you're building a house on a lot, you were going to have to put a septic tank in, and that restricted the size of the house, how many bathrooms you could have, and so on. Once the city went to, like my last model home was 2,300 square feet, and that's as big as we could build on a standard lot. Because of the septic issues. Once that changed, then you started seeing these mega houses once we had central sewer in. And I think it was a good decision. I'm a little concerned, and I'm not sure I know enough about it, the water quality and the waterways. I used to have snook right off my dock once in a while. I still have a lot of fish. I just don't have snook anymore. And so it's... I don't know. I think the city's trying to address it.
Yeah.
One of the things that I have talked to city council people one-on-one in many instances, because I've talked to a lot of the staff and the heads of departments, and the biggest problem has been the typical mentality of the council people to do rollback taxes. And because of that, a lot of the heads of departments, they can't keep employees, and they can't pay them enough, and they can't give them enough benefits. And after interviewing all the new people, they seem to be on board to, I'm not here to win the next election. I'm here to do what's right.
Right.
And so I see that happening, and I haven't seen it because I haven't seen the new budget.
Right.
And I don't think they've finalized it yet, but I'm hoping that's going to
Yeah.
come forward, because typically then, even though the property values have gone up substantially, I mean, with the exclamation
yeah.
next to it, the taxes, you're paying the same taxes. Well, that's not the way the government should be
Yeah,
running.
that's not the way the rest of the world works.
How do you give the services if you're not if you're not getting the tax base?
Right, because I mean, one thing to think: we are the most fiscally conservative city in the state of Florida, whereas we're also one of the most wealthy
Yes.
zip codes in the state of Florida. I think there's only like 5 or 6 that are more wealthy than 34145. So the idea that there's no money, it's there. So
Yeah.
I mean, I love the idea of not having to pay taxes. One of the chief concerns about the trolley in the first place was people were like, well, why are we spending $200,000 on this? Do we really have that money? It's like, well, maybe we would. So
Well, ironically, there used to be a trolley on
yeah, I
Marco.
know. Yeah.
And nobody ever had a problem with it.
Mm-hmm.
And it was an information trolley. The driver kind of told a little bit of what he thought was the history, and some of it was correct, and some of it was maybe not so.
I can relate
Actually,
to that.
my son married Joe, Cigar Joe is his name. My son married his daughter.
Oh, okay. That's great.
A great guy, and he was fun to be on the trolley with. So, and it's not too bad. It's too bad they didn't try it.
Yeah.
I mean, it was. I think we all need to try things.
Right.
It's like trying to get your kid to try carrots,
Yeah.
and they don't like carrots. Well, try them.
It's like, how do you know that?
How do
Just
you
because
know?
it's orange doesn't mean it's going to taste bad. Come on.
I had a grandson that used to. He'd chew the carrots, but he wouldn't swallow.
Oh.
He said, I'm not going to swallow because I don't know what that is.
Well, you are still getting some of the nutrients from just chewing it.
Yes,
So,
yes,
it's
true.
not too terrible in the grand scheme.
So Marv, what do you hope that the future of Marco Island would look like?
I don't see that there can be a significant amount of changes. I think that the city government needs to be more accepting of businesses, and they have been not so. I need to be careful what I say because, but I think it's not very helpful to people who want to come in and build or make some changes or do. There's a lot of subcontractors that won't even, or contractors that will not do work on Marco Island because they don't feel that they're getting so much resistance.
Yeah.
And I've talked to developers who want to do a redevelopment, and they don't want to deal with the city.
Yeah.
Because
Permitting
it's not-
processes alone.
and that has changed. When I was building houses, I had people, I'll give you an example. I had an inspector. I had 2 houses going up at the same time. Actually, I had several, but 2 houses that were in a particular condition, and they hadn't had the electrical inspection yet. And I went ahead and had insulation installed, and I got a call from the electrical inspector saying, Marv, I failed you. And I said, well, on such and such a job. And I said, oh, I didn't. Why? And he said, well, you put the insulation up before I could check it. And so he said, you need to take it all out. And he said, but on the other one, I know you did a good job, but I just want you to pay the penalty on one of them. I passed the other one. But, they were cooperating to the point that, we know you're doing a good job, and we're just trying to help out here.
Yeah.
And I had the building inspector one time. I asked him about changing the redoing my kitchen a little bit,
Right.
and I need to put some plumbing in, putting a new countertop. And I said, do I need to get a permit? And he said, why don't you just call the plumber and tell him you need a new hookup. Don't go through the permits. So that kind of thing makes sense. There doesn't seem to be a lot of, I shouldn't say a lot of it, because there are some good people there,
Right.
no question about it.
Oh, absolutely.
But there are some people that just, they make it very difficult for people.
Yeah, and it sure would be nice to just make things simpler for in just about anything. That I think that should be the name of the game, is simplicity, without just making it having all hell break loose. That is. So yeah.
Navigating through all these obstacles, are there any specific projects or buildings that you're personally proud of that you've worked on?
Proud of it? I don't know. I've done 2 developments. I've done a redevelopment where the what's their Marco Office Supply is in that complex. That used to be a bar.
Yeah, the Islander.
They called the Islander. There's a bar and a restaurant there. I, with myself and another party, we bought it and did a complete conversion as a condo there, and it was pretty nasty looking to begin with, and it was a hangout for some, I wouldn't say nasty people.
My dad told me that it was the roughest bar on the island at the time. So,
well, actually, there was a place called the Coconut Bar.
Oh, he never told me about that one.
That was even worse. So he might not have been here back then. But if you went in there, you didn't take your date in there. So. But then the other one was I did the project where my offices were on Collier Boulevard. It's where Allstate is now, and there's a strip center there. So I still own that.
Yeah, well, you did a great job at Marco Off Supply. I used to work there, and it was you could not tell that it used to be a very hole-in-the-wall seedy bar. So
yeah, well, now it's not. It's kind of a hole in the wall because they're not very big.
Yeah,
now.
well, it's just Marco Off Supply in there, and then Islander Pool has taken over most of it.
Yeah.
And so
yeah.
With that being said, Jordan, do you have anything else that you want to ask before we get into rapid fire?
If you had talked about the history in Deltona, I'd just like
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Elaborate a little bit about Deltona. They were the Corps of Engineers. Well, let me go back. The development schedules for Marco were segmented,
Right.
and so each development schedule they had to get dredge and fill permits, and the dredge and fill permits were they couldn't do them all at once because there wasn't that many dredges in the country, and they had 4 of what I had heard. I don't know factually, but a pretty good source that there were 7 such dredges in the country, and 4 of them were working here, but they still couldn't develop the whole island at the same time.
Right.
And so when it was time to come up for the next dredge and fill operation, it was typical a rubber stamp operation, and the whole development had been approved by the state and county and the Corps of Engineers. But when they came to this next permit request, there was a new agency in town called EPA. And they said, wait a minute, folks, that's kind of a sensitive land around there.
Yeah.
And so they ended up, I won't get into the detail of it, but they didn't get the permits to finish about a third of Marco Island.
Oh, wow.
And all those properties had been sold, so Deltona had to scramble to get those people their money back.
Yeah.
And part of their difficulty was they had paid all their franchise agencies commissions when they sold it.
Great.
And they had no means of getting that back because their contract didn't allow for that. So they ended up starting to sell a property such as Town Center was Deltona owned.
Okay.
All the beachfront was the hotel, Marco Beach Hotel and Villas. They sold that to the Marriott, which I think is kind of interesting that they sold it for $30 million, and the Marriott just spent, $300 and some million to renovate it here a few years ago. Renovate it and expand it. So.
Yeah. Wow.
Well, with that, do you think that there's anything that the Delta Corporation did right or should have done differently?
I think they did everything as what they could do at the time. Nobody expected the housing market to be what it is today, with these mega houses. And we built one that was 2,500 square feet. That's it. But there's a lot of them, 4, 5, 6. I think some of them are 10,000 square
Yeah.
feet. But that's where the market is. Could they have done something different? I don't think the market at that time would have allowed them to do anything different than what they did.
Yeah. Working well with the technology of their time. So, yeah. All right.
Technology wasn't even the word they
Right.
used
Yeah, I
back
guess.
then.
Yeah. With that, the forecast did say that it wasn't going to rain today. But those clouds are making me just a little bit nervous. Yeah.
Well, what do you think about some rapid fire questions?
That's what I was thinking.
Rapid fire questions.
All right, so rapid fire questions.
Okay.
What we try to do at the end of most of our podcasts, once we've gotten the meat and potatoes of the discussion, we want to know just a little bit more about you as an individual. So these are some questions that we have. So Jordan, go ahead and kick us off.
Our infamous question.
Yes.
Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Coffee. How do you take your coffee?
Little sweetener.
Little sweetener. All right, so beach or mountains? So I've been living on the beach for about 56 years now. So
Yeah, we don't go to the beach all that often.
Mhm.
We used to have a place in the mountains, which we loved.
yeah.
So, but as a year-round or majority of time, it's the beach.
Yeah.
The environment of waterfront.
How long? Which mountains did you use? You said you used to have property up in the mountains. Where
North
was
Georgia mountains. Yeah.
Oh, okay,
We were 10 miles from the beginning of the Appalachian Trail.
that? Okay, yeah. I love Chattanooga. I love Lookout Mountain.
Yeah,
I
that's
love
further to the west.
Yeah,
Northwest. Yeah.
Okay, I've spent I've never been. I've been to the Rockies, but I've never seen them because I was driving through at 1 a.m. Through Wyoming. That's a long story, and I'll say it some other time. But I love Appalachia, so I love the mountains. I love it here, but I also don't go to the beach all that often. I did my annual beach excursion on the 4th, so.
We've got a beach pass, but we don't use it very often.
Yeah, I don't have a beach pass, and I was a little bit regretting that I didn't have one on the 4th because it's the only time I need it.
When they were starting the beach organization, they were looking for founding members, and they took a big check and said, if you pay that, you're going to be lifetime members.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know how many of lifetime members are left, but we don't have to pay anything.
There you go.
And haven't for 30-some years.
Well, that's cool.
35 years, whatever.
Well,
So
I would
it's
say
saving,
that's
but-
worth it.
well, we hardly ever go, so
Yeah.
it doesn't matter.
If you could have a conversation with any historical figure, or like maybe just someone that speaks to your passions, who would you choose?
A historical figure.
Yeah, and I would say any person living or dead of like some notoriety, a person of note.
I like to look at the history. I like to study it, not study it, but I've recently been involved in the Rookery Bay Reserve, and I did a thing on that about the history of the environmentalist. And it goes back to Abraham Lincoln, who started the first park.
Yeah.
And so, but I'm more interested in people that are living.
Well, then, who living would you choose? If you could have lunch with any celebrity, politician, world leader, author, athlete, anybody.
I'll be very honest with you. I'm very satisfied having lunch with my kids and my wife.
There you go.
My other relatives and my friends.
There you go.
I have nobody that I can say I really look up to. I wish I'd have been part of their business or their life or things like that. I'm a very happy camper, the life I've lived.
Well, that's good. That's very commendable. I think one thing that I read somewhere is it's like I don't have a role model except for who I am in 10 years. So it's like always looking forward at who you can be.
Well, 10 years from now, I hope I'm still here.
Yeah. Well, I also hope that I'm still here. I've got pretty good chances on that. So, all right. That was your question. Dang, that's usually my question that threw me off. All right, what's your favorite restaurant on Marco?
The Boulevard.
The Boulevard. I think I ate at when it was the Philly Grill.
Yes,
but I
yeah.
never. I've never been to it when it was the Boulevard. So
It's our to-go place.
yeah,
right now.
I love them down there because they're the owner Bianca.
Yeah.
Yeah. Her son Joaquin was in plays with me when he was
Oh,
younger.
is that right?
So yeah, they would cater sometimes at a lovely family. I love them so
Yeah.
much.
If you could have a superpower, what would it be?
Ooh.
A superpower.
Yeah.
I play golf. I'd like to hit it further. There you go.
So we will say super strength.
Matter of
is
fact, I had to
the-
get cleaned up to come here after playing this morning.
Yeah. I thought you were playing pickleball this morning. Is where you
No,
were.
I don't do pickleball.
Oh, who was it that was saying that they did? There was someone else that we didn't interview them in the morning because they did pickleball in the morning. I guess it was you that did the golf in the morning, huh? I don't remember who that was. No. All right. Next question.
Pickleball is great for the orthopedic people. You know.
Oh. Let's see. Oh goodness, all our usual questions are escaping me. Let's see. If you could give one piece of advice to everybody watching, what would it be? Just any general piece of advice. You've been around for a bit, so I know there's some wisdom
Enjoy
over
what
there,
you
Marv.
have.
Oh, here, could you move the microphone a little bit closer?
Enjoy what you have.
Mm-hmm. That's good.
Shucks.
I think is there anything else that you want to say before we begin to wrap up this episode today?
I can't think of anything. You called me to
Yeah.
speak, so you ask the questions, and I'll try and.
This is true.
Yeah.
Well, I would say this has been an enlightening conversation. I'm sure I'll think of something later when I'm like, man, I'll ask you on Wednesday.
You came unprepared, I assume.
No, I did research, and I did it all. I read 2 of your interviews that you did on the Coastal Breeze. One that is celebrating 40 years on Marco, and then one celebrating 50 years on Marco. So each of those were a little bit of older articles, and then I read your website as well. So I didn't come completely unprepared. With that, Jordan, do you have anything else that?
Well, I was going to say, since we are at the museum, they just had an exhibit for the Deltona Corporation, didn't they?
Yes, they did.
Yes.
Which was the Tyler, our sponsor from the golf group. It was actually his idea to do this episode. And he had initially suggested that we do it at the Deltona exhibit, but the Deltona exhibit's gone now. It's
Well, I had given a
something
presentation
art-wise.
back when they were doing the Deltona
Yes.
housing, and I
Mhm.
gave a presentation. We had.
In Rose Hall.
I've
yeah.
done this several times,
Mhm.
other various groups, and usually it's 20 or 30 people. They had 115 people.
Really?
It's like, wow, look
You know,
at this.
Well, I think also there's been so many people that have moved to Marco within the past 5 years. Our population grew by at least 2,000 from 2020 to 2022. So in that time, I think we've also gotten a lot more young families moving to the island
Yes.
than we had in past. And also just people who really are here because they enjoy it here and they want to learn more about it. So thank you for being a pillar of the community for the past 56 years and for everything that you continue to do. And for also being open to talk to people like us and to give those presentations and all that.
Yeah,
So
I enjoy it.
I really appreciate
Yeah.
it as well. So this has been fun for me because, I love history. Well, I actually said this before we started recording. I love history, and the era of like the 60s and 70s is like the one part of Marco history that I know very little about. So
Yeah.
I was very happy to have you on the podcast today.
Good, thank you.
Absolutely. All right.
I
with
was
that-
thinking you were going to do the honors.
Oh.
That was like a really big
Oh, I
build
can
up,
say
so I
it
thought
then.
you.
All right. Official friend of the podcast. Sorry, I usually leave it to you to say that. We'd love to have you back on at any other point. If we want to discuss more, have our senior correspondent for Marco.
I love to talk about it.
Wonderful.
I do. As a matter of fact, there's potentially schedule another presentation, which will be a little different than because what I did here back in March, I guess it was all about the housing.
Yes,
And
I read that
so
on the website this morning.
The next one will be more about all the development and how the Mackle brothers came together.
Do you have any idea when that's going to be?
They did not give me a specific time.
Oh, if you can move your microphone.
They did not give. I didn't know whether they were still doing this or not.
Yeah.
They didn't give me a specific date.
Okay. All
Yeah.
right. Well, is there anything else that you'd like to just shout out and where people can find you? If they...
Can I advertise?
Yes, you can. Go ahead.
Well, as I think I mentioned, I sold my business to John R. Wood back, a real estate company, about 10 years ago, but I work for them with my kids. And so my participation in the real estate industry is more of a consultant advisor, and I do work with people to list or sell houses that know me or have referred to me. I'm not out marketing myself.
Right.
Because if somebody wants to go see a house on the day I play golf, they're going to have to wait. So that's
Yeah.
my daughter says, you've earned it, Dad. So.
And that's what retirement is about. So.
Yeah, well, I haven't retired. I mean,
Yeah.
I've got...
well, you're down to 40 hours a week.
I'm probably closer to 25.
Well,
now.
then there you go. Yeah, that's even more of a softer retirement.
Yeah.
All right, with that, Jordan, where can
Ryan,
Jordan, where can they find you?
You can find me, as always, on the Instagram. It's going to be JGKraley03 and Current Creations FL and the.marco.current if you're looking for social media, marketing, management, or any of those fun stuff, websites, business cards. I pretty much do all of it. But anyway, just find me on there.
Yeah, currentcreationsfl.com.
Ryan, where can they find you?
You can find me at ryanmsullivan.com. That's www.ryanmsullivan.com. From there, you can find links to all my social media. You can find links to any other projects that I'm working on, be it my book that released this past January, or be it any of my other creative projects that are all linked there, and be able to see some events that I might have coming up as well. Will be under the events tab on that. So you can also find me on Instagram at Real Ryan Sullivan. That's RealRyanSullivan. And with that, thank you so much, Marv, for joining us once again.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So with that, thank you so much for watching. It really does mean the most, and we will see you all in the next one.
This episode of Good Morning Marco is brought to you by Tyler Buchan of the Golf Group. Located right here on Marco Island, they're your go-to experts for luxury living on Marco Island and beyond. Whether you're looking for a waterfront home with golf access, a condo with stunning beach views, or a private retreat down on Hideaway Beach, Tyler and his team will guide you to your home. Visit thegolfgroup.com to start your search today, or call 239-420-1099. Once again, that number is 239-420-1099. Go to thegolfgroup.com to find out more. Thank you so much to Tyler and his team for sponsoring this episode of Good Morning Marco.